welcome back to another video. Today's video is going to be an informative kind of video because I had a whole lot of issues going on in the past, and I think I found the solution for those issues, and I want to address it if any of you ladies are going through the same thing, and that is severe menstrual cramps and ovarian cysts. So I started my cycle when I was probably about 12, 13 years old. So I was a late bloomer by today's standards. I started my cycle then, and ever since the day I started my cycle, I always had severe menstrual cramps. And later on down the line, when I was like 13, like almost 14 into 15 years old, I started to develop cysts on my ovaries, and I had a lot of cysts, and they were very painful, and it was very consistent. Like, they would go away and then they would come back, and then some would go away and then they would come back, up until the point where I eventually had a cyst that was like the size of an orange. Like, it was a very large cyst, and I would have the worst menstrual cramps ever, to the point where I was actually brought to the emergency room. I've passed out, I vomited from pain, and they could never figure out like why it was happening. And you know, doctors are in the business of making money. They don't actually care about fixing the problem and finding a solution. They want you to keep coming back so they can keep making money off of you. So some of you may know from my other channel, like, I'm all about holistic remedies. I'm all about homeopathic remedies, finding ways to fix things on my own. And I started reading, doing a lot of research, and one of the number one things that I would come across was the use of tampons and sanitary pads were linked to cysts, cancer, and a whole ton of just feminine health issues. So that was one of the first things that I did, was change out my feminine pads. And I was never really a tampon wearer, because when I would try to wear tampons, I would be in so much pain to where I could barely even sit down. And I know they say, you know, it's not incorrectly if you're in that much pain, but I know that it was incorrectly. Like, I know my body and what I was doing, but I would just notice that I would be in a lot of pain, and the cramping would be worse if I were to try to wear tampons. So that was very short-lived. Like, I didn't, from 13 years old all the way to 31 years old, maybe 2 weeks out of that time period would I wear tampons. So that goes to show how rare it was. But when I was reading, I read a lot of articles talking about how tampons are toxic. Obviously, they cause toxic shock syndrome. So that right there alone should let you know that they're toxic. But they also contain dioxins and chlorines and a host of many other chemicals that obviously are not good to be inserting into your body. And I'm a huge advocate of, like, it's just as important what you're putting on and inside of your body as it is what you eat and what you consume. Like, you know, we as women put tampons in all the time, and we think that it's normal, but you know, you wouldn't eat chlorine, or you wouldn't eat something known as a dioxin. Like, you would not put that in your mouth. Well, the average person wouldn't. Some people would. Some people don't care about what they consume and what they eat. But I also started to read up on feminine pads as well, and those, even baby diapers. Like with my son, like, I would use the most natural diapers as possible, and cloth diapers sometimes as well when I could. But at that time, I was extremely young, so that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But feminine pads as well, they contain chlorines. They're considered carcinogens, which is toxic, cancer causing. It'll make you ill, make you sick. It leads into diseases and bacteria that should not be building and growing inside of your body. And having a menstrual cycle, your body is trying to naturally release the inner lining of your uterus. So it should be flowing out of your body. It shouldn't be contained inside of your body. The whole concept of it, if you think about it, it really doesn't make very much sense. Like, if my body's trying to release something and get rid of something, why am I stuffing something inside of there to hold it inside of my body? So Even with like soft cups and diva cups and things like that, I tried those as well. Soft cups for me were extremely uncomfortable and very hard to remove. And diva cups, I love the idea of it and they work great. I know so many women that use them. But if you have a really heavy cycle, that's a whole nother story. Like it becomes a mess, and it still fits into that category of not letting your body naturally expel what's inside of it. You're still, you can wear those things up to 8 hours. I know some people even push it to 10 hours, which I could never do that. I bleed entirely too heavily. But your body's still holding that blood in for that 8 hours. Like it's just cooped up down there in that little cup. So I wasn't really comfortable with that idea either. But like I said, I know a ton of women that diva cups and soft cups do work for. So if that's your thing, then feel free to do it. It's way more safe than tampons, that's for certain, but I still don't recommend it. What I use are either reusable, washable feminine pads or 100% cotton toxic-free pads. And we cannot solely depend on marketing and the company to put out information about what's in a product, because their goal as well is to make money. So we have to be very cognizant and aware on our own of what the ingredients are and what we're putting on in our bodies. So for me, reusable pads, definitely the way to go. If that grosses you out and you don't like the idea of that, then by all means, you can buy 100% cotton or 100% organic cotton natural pads. They are on the market. The top 3 brands that I have used that I feel are remotely safe, not as safe as the ones that I make on my own, but safer than most options, are Honey Pot. They're pretty expensive and they don't come with a lot. So if you have like a really heavy flow, then you'll need to buy those things in bulk. 7th Generation, I've tried those. They're not my favorite, but they are better than some of the other brands that I've tried. And also Cora. I like the Cora, their entire line. They work great. And what I noticed with a lot of 100% cotton pads and toxin-free pads are that they don't really stick that well. I'm not gonna like pull pads out and show you all. The internet is a really weird place and there's just a ton of weird people out there. So just for modesty standards and my own comfort, I'm not going to show you all the ones that I actually have, but I am going to speak about them and I'll insert clips for you all as well. But the Honey Pot ones and the Cora ones, they stick really well, and they have an overnight pad. So if your cycle is really heavy, then they do have that option. 7th Generation, they are decent, but they don't stick the best to me. Like I find that they slip and slide a little bit. And the Honey Pot ones and the Cora ones have the best absorbency in my opinion. I typically like to use the Honey Pot ones at nighttime because they're the least toxic in my opinion from the ones that I've used, and they also stick very well and they're very absorbent to me. So that's just my opinion. That's the ones I like. But like I said, reusable are the way to go. You can sew your own. There are a ton of companies that you can buy from in this day and age. I'll also put some links down in the description box where you can buy them, because people do make them and you can purchase them. But you can wash them with your own, natural detergents and things like that. So you don't have to worry about like your body absorbing toxins through there, because you know exactly what it's made out of and exactly what you have washed it with. So you do have to be kind of careful, because some detergents and things like that, they will mess with the absorbency, because they'll be water repellent if you wash them with certain dish detergents. But that's for you to do your own research, depending on what you decide to use and which ones that you pick out. But I did want to give this little bit of information because it was very important to me. I have probably for like the past, I don't even know, it's been a really long time, at least almost 10 years now, I have not used a Always, Stay Free, Tampax, or any of those brand type of feminine products. And I rarely suffer from cramps anymore. I don't have any cyst, and obviously it's not just directly connotated to that or pointing towards that. I did make some changes in my diet as well. Like, I very rarely eat dairy because it contains synthetic hormones, and that can also mess with the regularity and the all your hormones surrounding having a menstrual cycle. So I rarely ever eat dairy, and I stay away from chicken or any sort of meat that has antibiotics or steroids, because that can also have an effect on your menstrual cycle as well. So with all that being said, if you are having cysts and menstrual cramps, yeast infections, bacterial vaginosis, and things like that, you should definitely look into changing out your pads, your tampons, and all of your feminine supplies. Even things like Summer's Eve feminine wash. I use Honey Pot feminine wash and feminine wipes. Summer's Eve, all those things are absolutely terrible for your pH balance. They're terrible for the overall health of your feminine areas, and they're filled with chemicals that are toxic. Obviously, like I said, they don't tell you that. You think these things are safe. They smell wonderful, but in all actuality, they are not good for your overall health at all. So I'm done, y'all. I'm not gonna go on for too long, but I just thought that that could be helpful to someone if they're going through the same thing that I was going through. Because when I tell you all, like, you can ask my husband, like, I used to have the worst cramps. Like, he would literally have to pick me up off the ground. Like, I was in that much pain. But I don't suffer with that any longer because I found the solution for it. So I'm hoping that this can kind of lead you ladies into the same direction, and you can get some sort of relief, because I know that that time of the month can be the worst time of the month ever. So yeah, if you ladies enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on that notification bell so you can be notified every time I upload a video. And I will see you ladies in the next one. Bye, y'all.